Parkchester Market here in the Bronx with Chef Rebecca, Chef Ricardo, and our market manager. And your name is?
My name is Winnie.
Winnie.
Yeah.
Hi, Winnie. How are you?
Good.
All right. Chef Rebecca and Chef Ricardo, you've come to the market today. What did you come for?
We came for vegetables for our stir fry.
All right. That's awesome.
Rain or shine, we were going to be here.
Exactly. It is a little bit rainy, but still the market is operational. As you can see, everybody has tents, so you just need to bring your umbrella. And so Grow NYC has this market here, Winnie. How long have you been here?
We've been here for 9 years.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. In this neighborhood. And what days are you here normally?
We're here every Friday from mid-June until Thanksgiving.
All right. That's excellent. What time do you open?
We're here at 8 a.m. The farmers get here starting at 6:30 to set up. And then they start selling at 8 o'clock until 3 or 4 o'clock, depending on the weather.
All right. That's terrific. So for Chef Rebecca and Chef Ricardo, how do they work the market? What type of payment could they use if they need to purchase today?
Yeah, so we take cash, credit, debit, EBT, Farmers Nutrition Program, Farmers Market Nutrition Program checks, as well as health bucks.
All right, that's amazing. And so what would we do when we came to the market? Where should we check in?
Yeah, so when you come to the market, you can walk through and look at all the things that we have at the market, or you come to our market information tent first and say hi to our market managers, like Cindy over here. And then if you want to use your credit card or your debit card or your EBT card, you can check in with Cindy first, and she'll sell you these wooden tokens to pay the farmers, since not all of them have their own machines to charge.
Okay, I see. Oh, that's convenient.
And then for customers who have EBT or pandemic EBT, every $5 that they spend, they get an extra $2 health buck from the Department of Health to buy more fruits and vegetables.
You get that immediately?
Yes, it's
wow.
a 40% bonus of what you normally would spend at the supermarket.
That's amazing. Oh boy, so I'm gonna get cash back immediately. I don't think I know any program that's that good. So that's terrific. I'm looking here at the sign, and the sign clearly suggests exactly what time is best to come. We're here early, and we're seeing that all the market farmers are ready to go. Well, Winnie, that's great, and thank you so much for giving us that information. And we know that if we need more detailed information, we could always see our market manager.
Yeah.
Like you make some of the lettuce, like mostly you want more spinach, kale.
This is a very abundant market. Look at the beautiful produce they have here. Hold on.
This is beautiful. Good morning. Doing all right yourself?
Hello, Chef Ricardo.
Didn't you have a lot of fun at the farmers market the past couple days back?
Actually, I did.
Man, when I'm looking down at it, I've got an orange carrot, a yellow squash, a purple shallot over here on my end. It's almost like I've got an entire rainbow here. We're eating a rainbow of vegetables.
Absolutely. Let me show you my plate, which has my vegetables on it. I've got my tomato, my squash, my carrot, bell pepper, onion, garlic.
Let's cut up our garlic.
So I have my garlic here.
All right.
And how are you going to do yours?
I think I'm going to mince mine. I've got a head of garlic right here. I've got my clove right here. I'm going to take that, go with the flat side of my knife just to break off that skin, cut off the root where it attaches to the head, and then I'm going to just peel it off.
Okay. So what I did is I cut the top and bottom off of mine, and I peeled it already. And I wanted to show something, because, you know, we always like to be kid friendly, and I have a garlic grater. So I just put it in. It's kind of like a microplane of sorts, or a grater. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to grate.
As for me, I cut up my garlic into slices, and now I've got one hand down on the tip, and I'm lifting with the other hand back and forth, up and down, and I am just mincing my garlic that way.
How many cloves are you using?
I am just going to use 2. I'm not going to go too strong on the garlic.
All right, well, one of mine is really small, so I'm going to do all 3 of mine over here.
All right.
Really small.
We've got our garlic cut up. I would say our next thing on the list would be our bell peppers.
Okay. So I have green. You have green as well?
Yeah, the same ones we bought at the farmer's market.
Okay, so we don't have red, guys. We don't have yellow. We don't have orange. We don't have purple. But guess what? They come in all those colors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I like to do is, because I don't want any seeds and I don't like chasing the seeds on my board, is I like to cut around the seeds. So usually what I do is just cut straight down. So if you can see, in the middle here is the stem, and around the stem is the seeds. So I'm just gonna cut away from that, straight down. So you see, got the seeds inside, I've got my piece. Now I don't have to spend all that time scraping and chasing seeds. And I just cut down each side, and I'm also cutting out the pith or the flesh inside, which you can see. So it's happening all at the same time, which makes cutting peppers easier.
Definitely.
And then bam, what do I have? I have my waste that I can just toss out.
As for me, I just kind of cut off the top of mine right here, as you could see, and I was able to just pull the peppers out. Generally, I don't really have a problem getting out all the seeds that way. The next thing I'm going to do is just cut my pepper in quarters from there, because what I was considering doing for the stir fry is just getting some nice strips. And I could usually get out that white part, the pith.
I want strips.
So I can just trim out that white part or the pith really easily. I'll keep that on the side for my waste bucket. And then I'm going to just use my bear claw, go nice and tight, and I can give myself some 1/4 inch strips there. These guys will cook fairly quickly once they're on the once they're in the stove.
And mine are done, and I'm going to put them in my bowl. Let me show you. So there's my strips. Yay!
All right, mine are coming out. And what I like to do, just to not waste any part of the veg, is try to make some strips from the top as well too. That'll kind of cut in half. Trim out a little bit of that white part, the pith, and then just keep on going.
I love that
idea. Throw it around.
Of not wasting.
Should we move on to our onion? So what I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to cut off the top of my onion, go down and away.
Okay.
And I'm going to peel off my
same thing, cutting off the top, cutting off the bottom.
Cut mine in half. I actually want to keep the root on. It'll be a little bit easier for me to cut slices with this. Actually, what I'm going to do
Put my waste in my bowl.
If I was dicing it, I would keep the root on. But to just do a nice little saute slice, I'm actually going to cut that off. Take back what I said.
So I'm going to try to follow what we just did, Chef Ricardo. I'm going to try to make strips out of my onions, or slices is what we would call it. Instead of doing what I do a lot of times when I season my dishes, is I dice them. But this time I'm going to make strips because I want them to try to match my bell pepper.
I am right there with you. It'll match some of the other ingredients that we'll be putting in too, size-wise. So I've got my onion sliced up here. I'm thinking half an onion's good enough for right now. I don't want to overwhelm the palate with too many flavors.
Did the same thing.
We could save that for another time. So I guess the next thing on our list to prepare would be our carrot, right?
Let's go.
I'll just peel off the skin.
Yeah, I peeled mine already.
How are you going to cut your carrot, Chef Rebecca?
You know, I'm being a little overachiever here. I really do want to try to cut strips again.
All right.
So, do you want me to tell about the trick for cutting carrots, something round?
Sure thing. What's the trick?
All right. So otherwise what's going to happen is going to roll around my board. And then I'm going to potentially hurt myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut straight down and cut off a bottom piece to make it flat. You see, and I have a flat edge, and I can lay this down flat. And now it's not rolling all over the place. So that's a little chef trick for safety.
All right. I like the roundness of my carrots, so I think what I'm going to do is try to preserve them a little bit, and I'm cutting just thin slices, but I'm cutting at an angle. I'm not cutting straight down.
Nice.
That's what we call cutting on a bias.
I love that.
All right, I guess next on the list would be our squash. And this was some really beautiful yellow squash that we got at the market. They also had green zucchini as well too, its brother, but I like the color on this one. I'm guessing cut into thin rounds? How are you cutting?
I'm gonna try to keep going.
All right then.
Let's see what happens.
All right. So I guess our next vegetable would be our string beans, that pound that we bought at the market.
All righty.
I did do a couple of these before we got on the line together, but just to show it right on camera, I basically cut off the ends, trim them, and then cut them in half. Get them nice around to a bite size.
Okay. I kind of did the same thing. Mine are a little smaller, but I don't mind because they're at least the same shape.
Well, let me just show a couple of quick things that I have on my board over here. I've got shallots. I already cut those up pretty small into thin slices, kind of the same way that I did the onion. With the jalapeno, it's kind of like our bell pepper. When you cut it, the best thing you can do is cut it in half. You'll see all those seeds in there. I pulled those out. You could use a spoon. You always want to wash your hands afterwards so you don't touch your eyes. That's going to burn. But I took those. I cut them into small strips. I could use that a little bit later. Last but not least, the protein that I'm going to be using today is going to be chicken. I've got some chicken tenderloins here. And right before we start cooking, I'm just going to take these and cut them up into some thin strips. So I just cut up my chicken over here. And just because I was handling raw chicken, the most important thing I'm going to do is stop to wash my hands. Got a little bit of hand sanitizer here, so I'm just going to clean off my hands just like that. And that'll definitely be the last thing I use on the cutting board.
Thank you for showing that, because we really do have to be safe in the kitchen.
No cross-contamination here. All right, I think we're ready to get started cooking.
Okay.
If you don't mind my asking, because I can't see it from this angle, what protein are you using today?
Oh, yes, sorry, you did ask me that. I'm using garbanzo beans or chickpeas.
Awesome.
One of my favorites.
Well, I got a little garbanzos here as well to add. However, I wanted to mix it with my chicken just to stretch out that protein.
Okay.
This was something I was going to use for a family meal, but I wanted to see how much more mileage I can get out of it.
Yeah,
anyway.
And I do. I get a lot of mileage out of my chickpeas. I make so many different dishes, cold, hot. I make like a salad, a tuna salad, quote unquote. So it's really a go-to for me.
Definitely. Love the versatility of those. The one other thing that I'm going to add in, I know you picked up some fresh chickpeas over at the market. I've got some, fresh tomatoes over at the market. I've got some diced tomatoes over here to show how you could use those as well, because we're not going to use a lot of liquidy product in our stir fry. I'm going to take my diced tomato can, just pour it into this little strainer here, and I'm just going to give this a hot moment to strain on out.
Nice. I cut my tomatoes up too.
Awesome. All right. So I've got my burner on. I've got an induction burner over here, and I'm actually putting the flame up, or, well, not flame, but the heat up on my induction pad to about an 8 out of 10. It's a high heat.
Yeah, I've got a hot plate. So I have to pull it onto my table, but as you can see, I have my oven mitt right? Because I'm not going to get burnt moving my hot plate.
Safety first.
Safety first.
So I'm going to add in our olive oil. If you have a flavor neutral oil like canola, that's another ingredient you can add in as well. And I guess I'm going to start off with my shallots and my onions, and then I'll follow up with my garlic. Now with the stir fry, you always want to stir very quickly so that nothing gets stuck. I'm going to add in my garlic next. Ooh, can you hear that sizzle?
Okay, my garlic is in. Pepper.
Let me get my bell peppers in.
I love adding these colors. I can feel my taste buds going, yay!
And so the way that we're adding in all the vegetables is really just determined by how they feel and how they're looking. If we're adding in, I know we usually start by adding in our garlic and our onions to start getting a little flavor and to get these to break down a bit, but something like our carrots would probably be the next thing to go in because they're a little bit harder.
I'm moving on to my carrots.
I'll come back to something softer like my canned diced tomatoes later.
And when will we put in our string beans?
In just a moment. What I want to do is stop to add in some of my seasonings so they have a little time to permeate and just add their flavor to the plate as we're building it out here.
Okay, I'm going to take a pinch of salt because I feel like the salt brings out the water in my onions.
It definitely does.
And I want to have a little juiciness going on.
I'm going to add some salt as I just did over here. The next thing I'm going to do is add in a little bit of chili powder. I'm going to go with 1.5 teaspoons on my end.
All right, I'm going to add a little garlic. I'm sorry, ginger. I already put my garlic in.
Let me stir this up.
What I like about this is you can store also. So if I don't use it all, but I used it all. And I'm adding dried basil. Sometimes you can use fresh vegetables, and other times use dried vegetables. So I'm just going to crumple some dried basil leaves. Okay. So I'm going to put in my string beans. Mix those around. See all that green goodness?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to put in my squash.
These are getting a little dry on my end here. So what I'm going to do is take just a little bit of the diced tomato liquid, not too much, and just add that in to keep things nice and loose. I'd say about 1 tablespoon or 2 should do. Less is more.
I do have soy sauce I'm going to put in. So that'll give mine a little juiciness. I'm going to turn my heat up a little bit because as I'm putting in my vegetables, my pan is getting a little cooler. I'm going to turn my heat up a little bit.
All right. Yeah, let me pop up the heat here. I guess our proteins will go in next.
Okay, so
let me make a little room for my
I'm going to
chicken
make
here.
room for mine. Yep. Thank you so much. And
Let me drop in the chicken.
These are my garbanzo beans or chickpeas, which honestly, I eat them every way you can think. Raw, cooked, mashed. I even make little crunchy snacks from them. So.
Ooh, let me stir that in just a second. I just wanted to take a moment to clean up my hands. Handling that raw chicken, always want to do that.
Chef Ricardo, can I show you one little trick I like to use?
Tell me about it.
Scissors! So I have my wild cilantro. And instead of chopping it, I take little scissors and I like to cut. Safe for kids, but honestly, it's just a lot of fun.
I guess I could have cut the chicken with scissors too.
Nice.
So right now I've just put some salt and pepper on my chicken. I'm just kind of stirring that a little bit and keeping it in the center, the hottest part here.
Okay, I'm adding a little pepper to mine.
All right.
Looks awfully pretty, I gotta say.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, I'm going to take a little bit of my jalapenos and just cut them really small. They'll go in just a moment.
And now I'm going to drizzle my soy sauce. And I'm trying to see if you can hear my sizzle. Can you hear my sizzle?
Ooh, now I do.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add, or all your ingredients are in?
Most of mine are in. I'm going to add a little bit of chickpea and a little bit of tomato in a moment.
Okay.
I just wanted to give the chicken a little extra time to cook up and be at the right appropriate temperature.
So I do have tomatoes as well. And I have one other Asian-inspired ingredient, which is black sesame seeds. You can use white or black sesame seeds. And I add that because I like the texture. But seeds are actually really good for you. They have nutrients, omegas, that we don't get from a lot of other foods. So it's a good addition. Sprinkle it on top like you would salt, but no sodium here.
So I'm going to add in my tomatoes too. I've got my diced tomatoes here. They had an opportunity to drain. I'm going to put that on top, and I'm going to put in some chickpeas as well. But this is getting really close to being done, so I'm going to lower the flame a little bit. Actually, I'll put them all in, and I'm going to put a top on it.
Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. There's my top. Ta-da!
There we go.
So I wanted to say that we need to do mise en place, and that's what you did, Chef Ricardo, and that's what I did. And a lot of times we don't think about that, but it is having everything in its place. And that's why we were able to cook the way we did, because we had all of our vegetables and our seasonings, everything ready, all of our equipment and tools ready, called mise en place. And that makes cooking more organized, but it also makes it more enjoyable.
All right, let's take a look here. Let me stir this around just a touch. I wish you were here to smell this.
I know. Delish.
A lot of warming flavors here.
I have to say the colors are amazing. I really enjoyed that farmer's market, I have to say.
Me too. So I've added in some protein here. It's a chicken, and I wanted to stretch that out a little bit with my chickpeas. You want to add in a protein to this because it's a one way of ensuring that you're eating a balanced meal. We've got our vegetables, we've got our chicken. We're about halfway to a balanced lunch or dinner, really. You compare this up with the grain, and I've got one that I'll show in just a little bit, and that's basically a meal in a pot.
Excellent. I love that this becomes a complete meal because I've added in my chickpeas, which is my protein component of our dish. And protein is good for your muscles. And so we certainly need those to be mobile. And also they protect parts of our body, protect our bones. So protein is really important. You just have to make sure you're getting the right amount. But this particular protein, which is chickpeas, is cholesterol free and very low fat. So if you want to try a vegetarian diet, or you want to try plant-based, or maybe you want to have a meatless Monday once a week, where you have a dish that isn't meat or animal, you can use chickpeas, absolutely.
Definitely. And adding chickpeas to mine adds a lot more fiber to the plate too, which is always
good. Oh, don't we need that fiber?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so one of the things that I did to give my dish a little more protein is I made rice. And this is a black rice, and I'm going to put my vegetables with my black rice.
Nice.
I'm going to make sure I get a little bit of everything. I'm going to put chickpeas in the middle.
I like that you tried a different type of rice.
Yeah, well, because I just like adding all these colors.
On my end, I've decided to go with a little bit of a different grain here. I've got farro. And farro is kind of like a form of rice. I'm going to put that down right here so you could continue to see it.
I love farro.
It's yummy, it's filling, and what I'm going to do is just put some of my stir fry right on top. It's a nice little bed, and we'll put the veggies right on top.
Just want to make sure I have some of all the colors.
Mm-hmm.
And there I have my red, my orange, my green, my white.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I waited for lunch.
I was going to say, it looked like you had a fair bit over the camera. What do you intend to do with all of that stir fry?
Well, I have a next door neighbor, Mrs. Miller, and whenever I do cooking at home, especially for Wellness in the Schools, because I usually make a larger dish, I share with Mrs. Miller. So I'm going to be taking Mrs. Miller some of my vegetable stir fry with rice.
That sounds nice. I know that I've got Chef Sebastian and Mom and Dad at home, so I think I'm going to take some of the stir fry back over to them after I have my little bit for lunch. They can have a bit for dinner too. I've added in the chickpeas to stretch out the protein that's in there, and there should be enough for everybody. Maybe if I'm lucky, there'll even be leftovers.
I hope so. Great job.
Likewise. This was fun. I enjoyed cooking with you, even if we had to be distant.
Great. It was really great. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for the farmers market and all of that. I had such a good time, and this is a perfect way to end it.
Definitely. Enjoy your stir fry, Chef Rebecca.
Thank you. You too, Chef Ricardo. See you next time.
Catch you later.